Great, so anytime you guys are ready.
Hello again, Aftershock,
Nameless Crusader.
We're from the Katalysts of Canada, and this is the Justice Crew of Oshawa subsect. The night so far has been pretty dead. We've ran into a couple of citizens that just kind of been wondering what we're about. So we just kind of give them the lowdown, tell them about what we do here. We offer them a team card that has our information and kind of a rundown of what we do on the back of it. And we kind of just went on our way. We've been kind of keeping our eye out for any crime or any suspicious activity as usual. Keeping an ear out for anyone that needs any help. So far, nothing that's required our immediate attention or anything like that. For tonight's game plan, we're either gonna hit up the Oshawa Trails pathway to make sure everyone's safe, or might take a loop around Gibb and a separate pathway up near Stevenson. There's a park and kind of a wooded area where people sometimes go by that's not so lit and potentially dangerous. So that's basically what we're going to do tonight.
Yeah. If we take the bike path, it's a little dark, so I'm not sure if you'll capture anything good on video.
Do you guys have any flashlights or any type of lighting? Or
Yeah, you got my flashlight, he's got a flashlight.
Cool. Maybe bust out the flashlight in dark areas.
So cameraman's preference as to which route you want to do?
No preference. You guys lead the way. Do you think we could wrap this up a little bit beyond midnight?
Yeah, for sure.
Yep, not a problem with me.
Basically, wherever you guys want to go, and then maybe just end up here at Memorial Park.
Sure. What we could probably do is actually head up Gibb and do that loop around, and then maybe on the way back come through the pathway.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll just get going and do that then.
Yeah.
Cool. Sure.
And if we do happen across, anybody who's homeless or just in need, I got some pretty good care packages whipped up. It's got small first aid kits in it, a pair of socks, a snack, bar of soap, a few other things that elude my mind right now.
Bottled water?
Yeah, there's bottles of water in there. So hopefully we can find somebody to give them to and not just have them sit around all day for the next week.
Yeah, pretty much prepared for whatever the night throws at us. Unless it's bullets. Please don't be bullets.
Alright, so I guess we're gonna start on our hike here.
Great.
So basically as usual, we'll take a look around, keep our ears open, keep our eyes peeled for anyone that needs any assistance or any potential crime going down, or any needy or homeless citizens that might require any of our aid or supplies that we have. Other than that, just get some good old-fashioned exercise.
Yeah. And actually, Memorial Park here, where we are now, is actually a known hotspot for pot dealers and other types of drug dealers. And the confusing thing is we've had people come up to us, dressed as we are, and ask if we're quote-unquote selling tree. Not quite sure what the thought process that led to that question was, but we keep an eye out for anybody who looks suspicious in the area. If you happen to be, around Memorial Park at night, just keep your wits about you and be careful.
If there are any top 3 hotspots you could name off where you've seen kind of the most dangerous or upsetting things, could you maybe think of them? Or
honestly, any area that's dimly lit, where not too many people frequent, crime likes to happen away from prying eyes. It likes to find its victims in its most vulnerable areas, and basically anywhere where people might find themselves alone or by themselves. So it's always good if you're walking somewhere that you're either you're not aware of or you haven't been before, or it's darkly lit, or there's not going to be too many people around. It's always to walk with a friend or a significant other or something, because crime is less likely to strike if you're in pairs or in a group. sort of like in a horror movie where the one guy suggests, hey, let's split up, we'll cover more ground. That's always a bad idea.
So, like I was saying, Memorial Park is definitely on the list. Aside from that, the RPS has actually told us the big parking garage in behind Riley's in the junction, apparently quite a lot of stuff goes down there, as well as the bike path just in general. As he was saying, it's dimly lit and not a lot of traffic. There have been muggings and even sexual assaults along that path there. So,
and apparently there's a local gang known as the Hustle Kings, or the HK.
Yes.
They still are apparently active and still committing crimes. Last patrol that we were out, a couple of citizens came forth and told us that they were in fact mugged and had some items stolen from them up near Division and King Street.
Yeah, just a general description that they gave us. It was about 7 individuals. I'd hazard a guess, late teens, early 20s, and they were all on BMX bikes. So if you see somebody on a bike at night, or I should say a group of people, that seem kind of suspicious, do your best to keep your distance from them and try and take a path that's not easily bike accessible.
Yeah, it's for the most part, it's kind of like feeling out individuals while you're walking around at night or by yourself. You kind of have to kind of see their body language and their kind of behavior. If you see a couple of them circling the area on bikes, or a couple people like constantly like with their eyes on you and maybe kind of going in and out of your view, it's probably best to take an alternate route if possible, because they could be casing you to see if you're alone or if you're vulnerable. Because, you know, not every criminal is a dumb criminal. Like some of them have been doing it for quite a while. They pick and choose their victims based on how easy of a target you are, and especially any way that you can make yourself a less easy target, the better.
Yeah, so if you're walking at night, especially if you're alone, don't have your headphones in so that you can actually hear what's going on around you. Keep your eyes up and not glued to your phone. You know, just basically use every sense you have to observe your environment and keep your distance from, I want to say, pretty much everybody, just to be safe. I know that sounds kind of highly defensive, but, you know, better safe than sorry, right?
Well, for example, if you take a look at this parking lot here, it's not too lit. There's part of the pathway there that's kind of dark. It's pretty easy for anyone to be just waiting in the tree line there or around the bushes, just for anyone to kind of go by out of sight and quickly grab them and do what they like with you. I mean, you just gotta keep your eyes open, especially if you're by yourself. You don't want to, like you said, have like your headphones in, your head down, and not paying attention to where you're going, because the lack of paying attention to your surroundings is #1 cause for becoming victim of crime.
And that being said, just as a further safeguard, if you don't need to take it with you and you need to go out at night and it's valuable, leave it at home. You know, because if in a worst case scenario you do find yourself in that situation, you know, the less you lose, the less inclined you feel to defend what you're being mugged for. Right? If you're out at night, you know, iPods aren't necessary. It's also a good idea to maybe keep a fake wallet, just with like a card or two and maybe like $10 in it as a decoy. You know, just any steps you can take to not be a victim.
On another note, we do every now and then take a walk around these facilities and stuff like that. One night we were patrolling behind the Drive test center here, and we found a couple of used heroin needles.
Oh, yeah. That was lovely.
And to find a plastic bottle to throw them in and tie it off and throw it into the garbage. Just because you never know if some kid's like getting out of the parent's vehicle and kind of steps out and falls, maybe they land and they get punctured, you know. It'd be a shame if, like, you know, a 6 or 7-year-old kid ended up getting AIDS because of a heroin needle just randomly tossed on the sidewalk or on the ground near a parking lot.
Yeah, and let's face it, addicts aren't exactly the cleanest people most of the time.
Have there been any recent police reports you've seen that have been somewhat concerning or upsetting?
Not any one specific, but I am seeing a notable increase of stabbings, muggings, that sort of thing.
Right.
And there's even been 1 or 2 shootings reported this year so far in Oshawa. So it's not like Oshawa is completely devoid of danger,
Right.
as some people would like to believe.
Yeah, it's basically luck of the draw. I mean, because it happens at random, not always near the hot spots. You know, one hot spot one week could be absolutely quiet the next. So, unfortunately, it just depends on where you are and what time of night you're out.
Yeah, like basically it's a crapshoot on whether you're going to be the unfortunate victim of a mugging. And by taking the steps I was talking about earlier, you can at least minimize your chance and minimize your loss if you do become one of the unfortunate people.
Yes, because most muggers aren't really out to hurt you or assault you too much. They just want to get your, you know, valuables and be off again before they can be identified or caught. So you can just give them like a fake wallet, like you said, with like a couple of bucks in it, just to get them off your back. It's always good.
And
if you see something, say something. If you do get mugged, or if you are a victim of like a street level robbery or crime or assault, make sure that it might be, you know, nerve-wracking and kind of scary, and your adrenaline might be pumping a bit at the time, but always try to remember what your attacker looks like, a good description of their height, their clothing, whether they're white, Hispanic, black, you know, like their skin type, because the police will ask that type of thing.
yeah, and if you're just a witness, like you see something, please don't just ignore it. If you see somebody getting attacked or mugged or getting assaulted in the street, even if you're not completely sure that something bad is happening, it's always better to be safe than sorry.
Because crime isn't going to report itself.
Yeah. And the only reason people do these things is because half the time people can't even be arsed to, you know, basically pursue it past the night in question.
Right.
Case in point, someone close to me was recently attacked by someone in their family, and I urged them to call the police, and they didn't. And this person is known for being very aggressive and doing these sorts of things, and he never faces any repercussions for his actions. And he'll most likely continue this long into adulthood, just because nobody takes the time out of their day to phone the police, which seriously, it only takes 5 minutes. You're only ever on the phone for 5 minutes with 911.
Yep, and don't worry about being a rat or a cop caller. That's what the police are there for. They're there to handle the situations which regular citizens are incapable of doing themselves because they're too physically weak to do so, or they do not have the means of defending themselves, or anything like that. I mean, people are going to continue to do bad things if they do not have any recourse for their negative actions. And once again, don't be afraid of being a rat, because technically, a rat is only a criminal who tells on other criminals. And are you a criminal, or are you the victim? If you're just the victim, you should tell the police.
Yeah, the whole rat and snitch thing is literally just a construct built
By criminals.
to try and guilt you out of not, calling the police or, doing what needs to be done. Because in truth, they're afraid of legal repercussions.
Like you see in a lot of hostage movies or a lot of like action films. The police always say, if they tell you not to involve the police, that's probably the time to involve the police.
I watched a video on the Nameless Crusader YouTube channel. I remember you discussed in depth the psychological state of people being a bystander rather than getting involved.
Yes, the original video I made when I first started.
Right. Do you want to dive a bit into the bystander effect and?
So basically, the bystander effect is I wouldn't say necessarily a psychological condition, but more so a state of the human mind as it operates by default. And a short explanation is, the more people are in a crowd around a situation where somebody needs help, the less likely somebody is to actually step in and help. So one person alone is more likely to help than a group of 100, like anybody in a group of 100.
Right.
So that, like I said, that's just a unfortunate aspect of the human condition.
Yeah, they kind of make it the SEP condition, somebody else's problem. Because if there's many people in the crowd, someone else thinks, oh, someone else will do it. Somebody else will like jump in and help that guy.
Right.
Or I don't want to be centered out and be the one that jumped in and have everyone looking at me and all the attention on me. Like, it's unfortunate that it takes a certain type of individual to step up and do what's right sometimes.
Yeah, like the other excuse that I hear a lot is I'm way too busy to deal with this shit, basically.
Right.
And I'm sorry to break it to you, but like, everybody's busy. I have a full-time job that I work 5 days a week that requires me to commute to Toronto. So I'm gone 13, 14 hours of the day. And still, I will take literally 5 minutes out of my day to call the police if I see something that needs the police. And if you can't spare 5 minutes of your time to do that much just to help ensure someone's safety, like, now you're starting to see why we're out here doing what we do, right?
Right.
To try and raise people's attention to these sort of deficits in the human mind. I can't necessarily fault people for thinking that way, because like I said, it's just built into our DNA.
Right.
But the first step to, overcoming things like that is to recognize that this is happening, and to basically take a minute to think about it if you do find yourself in a situation like that. Like, take 3 seconds to process, like, okay, this is happening. If I phone the police, I will be helping this person. Or if I phone an ambulance, I will be helping this person.
Well, and that's another thing too. Like, if you're so unwilling to help someone else, how are you going to feel if you're the one being mugged, or you're the one being victimized of crime, and everyone else stands around gawking and does nothing? I mean, people like to say, oh, well, if it was my friend or my family, I'd help out. Well, it's someone's friend. It's someone's family member. Like, oh, if it was my sister or my mother, well, of course I'd help them. Of course you would. But, that person is someone's sister. That's someone's mother. And don't they deserve to have their family members return home in one piece? To return with their belongings that they worked, hard hours to buy? Etc. Like, people don't really stop and think enough about beyond their little circle or beyond their little world, and think like it's like treat others how you would like to be treated type of deal.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not that hard of a concept. Because one day it might be you that's being mugged. It might be you who's getting you might be the bystander who's just happened to go to a gas station to fill up your car and goes in to pay for your gas, and someone, robbing the store and you happen to be the bystander who gets shot because you open up the door and don't realize it's being robbed or something. Like, wouldn't you want someone to see this and call the police, call an ambulance, so that your time bleeding on the floor is a little less?
Yeah. Like, case in point, I was in a very, I wouldn't say dangerous car accident, but I just got up to 100 kilometers an hour on the highway and I crashed my car because I hit a patch of ice, and suddenly I'm going 100 kilometers an hour at a 90-degree angle. I smashed into the wall and wrecked my car. And luckily I was able to call 911 because I was not severely injured in the crash. But if I was unable to, say for example, I got knocked unconscious.
Then what?
Yeah, I would
Right.
hope that somebody who sees me skid out and wipe out in front of them would have the decency to pull over and phone 911 for me.
Yeah, not just like slow down and take a few pictures and goes, well, that must suck, and keep driving.
Yeah. So one common misconception is that, you know, we're basement dwellers. We're kind of cut off from reality, and we've never been in dangerous situations. Like, that car accident is just one of a couple times where I could have died. I can't get into the others for personal reasons, but you know, I have been in situations where I've been in danger, where I've been severely injured or sick. So when the time comes, where we're needed for a dangerous situation, you know, it's not like we're gonna be psychologically weak and duck out.
Right.
Like if me or Aftershock sees somebody in an alleyway getting mugged, in or out of real life superhero life, we're going to do our best to intervene.
Oh yeah, I don't need to be wearing all this. If I see something going down and you know, you're a victim of a crime, I'm going to be jumping in whether I look like this or if I'm in what we call civvies, being civilian wear. Because once again, not in it for the credit, we're just there to help when we can help. If it happens to be while we're on patrol, cool. If it happens to be while I'm out running to the convenience store to pick up a bag of milk for the wife, cool.
Right.
Anyway, what was I gonna say?
Lots.
Yeah, I've already said lots. That was it. So another common misconception is that we wear what we wear to draw attention to ourselves for glory purposes. And I'm sorry to disappoint those people, but that's not true in the slightest. Well, technically it is true that it is to draw attention to ourselves. It's not for the reason people think. If you see a normal person duck into an alleyway to do whatever, you don't think twice about it. It's just a guy going into an alley. But if you see two colorful dudes dressed as superheroes duck into an alley, you start questioning why they're going into that alley. So then you might get interested to go and find out. You see that there's a homeless guy in the alley and they're giving him food, or they're giving him money to get food, or a care package. So then you see that, you know, there's been this homeless guy in this alley this whole time, and nobody knew because nobody bothered to look in there.
Right.
Or alternatively, you know, if we're not wearing this and we're just a couple of dudes picking up some garbage in a local park or playground, then you're probably not going to really wonder what they're doing. You're probably just going to think they're, you know, dumpster diving or they're garbage pickers. Like, you're not going to probably have any sort of good thoughts about it, or you're not going to really question what they're doing. Whereas if you see guys dressed like this, going around with garbage bags, picking up litter, and like actively, literally trying to clean up the streets, you might get inspired. You might kind of ask questions and wonder why we're wearing this, and you know, it basically just sparks people's interest. It creates questions. It creates actions. And that's another thing too, right? If you see a good deed going down, or you see something positive in the world, it kind of has a butterfly effect and ripples out. And sometimes, if you do something good for someone, they might feel the need to pay it forward and continue the, goodness and helping out of their community and others. So really, we're just trying to inspire people to do what people should be doing already anyways.
Yeah, not to mention, like I said, our suits are mostly colorful. It's actually a very useful tool if we do get into a situation with aggressive persons. It can help de-escalate the situation if you know what you're doing, because it might strike a humorous chord with them, or just kind of make them take you less seriously, which is sometimes good. Sometimes it is a good thing to not be perceived as a threat. Because at the end of the day, if you come across someone who is in the process of getting assaulted or mugged, and you get them to safety without them getting mugged or the person getting sexually attacked, that's the win. Not you beating up the bad guy, which some people seem to think we're out here to do. It's not.
Right. Just kind of going off on a tangent, I think a lot of people might look at real-life superheroes like Phoenix Jones and think the life of a real-life superhero involves a lot of violence or having combat knowledge and just going out there and roughing people up without... It might give a bad name to the movement, in a sense.
Yeah. The thing is, the United States, as opposed to Canada, are vastly different.
Right.
Both in terms of attitude of the general populace, as well as the laws of what a real-life superhero can and cannot do and carry. For instance, here in Canada, we are not allowed to carry any weapons. This includes batons, bear mace, dog mace, not even handcuffs.
Yeah.
So
no tasers or anything like that too.
Yeah, which for any potential real-life superheroes out there, body armor is actually legal to own and wear without a license, as long as you are not judged to be in the act of or actively committing a crime, with the notable exception of British Columbia, where you do need a security license. Otherwise, it is illegal to own.
Bulletproof.
Yeah. So I was getting off on a tangent there. So, like I said, we can't carry any weapons, so by necessity we have to be very defensive in nature. As colorful as our gear is, it actually is armor as well.
Right.
Rated for basically small swords and less, basically. Assuming we don't just stand there like, yo, stab me. So we try to talk down situations if need be. Only under emergency circumstances where there's no other alternative, we are allowed to make a citizen's arrest, but there are many caveats that go with that. We cannot apply any more force than needed to subdue the individual in question.
Equal or lesser force.
Yeah. The police must be contacted immediately, and the person must be transferred to police custody as soon as possible. And you can only make the citizen's arrest in the first place if it is not feasible for an officer of the law to do so. So those are the three basic points that you have to keep in mind. And it's not just us that can make a citizen's arrest. If you find yourself in a situation where you feel you need to, subdue somebody and wait for the police to arrive, it is within your rights to do that as well. But as with any sort of self-defense under Canadian law, it all depends on the responding officer's judgment. So if they deem you to be overly aggressive or use too much force, they can technically arrest you